Welcome to the Deep Dive, learner. Let me ask you something, right out of the gate.
Okay, lay it on us.
How many times have you told yourself you're going to start that, like, massive project or finally commit to that new nutrition plan?
Oh, or get back into a daily workout routine.
Yes, exactly. You say you're going to do it tomorrow, but then, tomorrow actually arrives and you find yourself completely paralyzed.
Yeah, that happens to, well, pretty much everyone.
Right. You wake up, you look at the task, and suddenly absolutely anything else, I mean, including organizing your junk drawer, seems infinitely more appealing.
It's an incredibly common, almost universal human experience, really. We just stare at the very thing we know we should do.
The thing we actually want the results from.
Exactly. But there's this invisible, suffocatingly heavy wall standing right in front of us.
And that invisible wall is exactly what our mission is about today. We are going to completely dismantle the traditional idea of self-control.
It's a fun one.
It really is. So our source material today is this fascinating transcript from a Mindset Mentor video. It's titled, Become Addicted to Discipline in One Day. And what strikes me right away is that the vast majority of us think discipline inherently means pushing harder.
Right, we think it's a grind.
Yeah, like we assume it requires gearing up for a fight, white-knuckling our way through discomfort and battling that invisible wall.
Just forcing your way through.
Right. But the source suggests the exact opposite. True discipline isn't about fighting the resistance at all. It's about, well, removing the resistance completely.
Which represents a massive paradigm shift. I mean, we're moving away from a traditional model of brute force willpower and stepping into a model of behavioral engineering.
Because willpower runs out, right?
Oh, absolutely. Willpower is finite. Engineering, on the other hand, is sustainable.
And the promise of this shift is just huge for the listener. By the end of this deep dive, you are going to have a counterintuitive framework to actually enjoy taking action.
Which sounds impossible, I know.
It does, but we're talking about fundamentally rewiring how your brain perceives effort. Basically turning discipline from this grueling punishment into something resembling a healthy addiction.
Yeah. But before we get into the mechanics of how to do that, we really need to examine why the current approach is failing.
The one most of us have relied on for years.
Exactly. It's virtually guaranteed to fail because it fundamentally relies on an internal bully.
Right.
You simply cannot shame, guilt, or, bully yourself into long-term consistency.
You might get a short burst out of it, though.
Sure, yeah, a short burst of frantic effort. Like, you might force yourself to go to the gym for 3 days straight because you looked in the mirror and felt terrible about yourself.
But that emotional fuel burns really dirty.
It burns incredibly dirty, and it burns fast. It is a biological fast track to complete burnout.
The speaker in our source material actually shares a pretty intense personal anecdote to illustrate this.
Oh, right, the work hours.
Yeah, in their early 20s, they were working 110 hours a week for 3 years straight.
Wow. That level of sustained stress is just staggering. It actually alters the physical structure of the brain if kept up for that long.
And they just forced it. They pushed and pushed, relying entirely on that dirty fuel of pressure and guilt. And eventually, their system just totally collapsed.
They hit severe burnout.
Yeah. Because when you force yourself to perform through sheer willpower fueled by anxiety, your body literally treats that psychological stress the exact same way it treats a physical threat.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the brain's fundamental operating system.
Which is what, exactly?
At its absolute simplest, the human brain is a prediction machine designed for survival. It wants to move away from pain and move towards pleasure or reward.
Just baseline programming.
Exactly. So the harder something feels emotionally like, the more dread, guilt, shame, or pressure you associate with the task, the more unconscious resistance your brain is going to build against it.
Wait, so your brain actually fights you?
Yeah, your amygdala actually flags the task as a threat.
Yeah.
You are literally programming your own nervous system to actively avoid the very thing you want to accomplish.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I can hear you, the listener, just throwing your hands up in frustration right now.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It really is. Because if we shouldn't push hard and, we shouldn't use pressure, how does anything difficult ever get done?
Right.
Isn't some level of discomfort just a necessary evil of success? Like, if I want to run a marathon or build a business or write a novel, it's gonna hurt a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, that is the natural friction point everyone hits when they first hear this concept. But the point isn't that physical or mental effort magically disappears.
Okay.
The point is about changing the emotional association you attach to that effort. We have to completely change our internal translation of the word discipline. Well, when you sit there and say to yourself, I need more discipline to finish this project, what you are actually saying from a neurological standpoint is, I need to learn how to make this process feel good enough so that my brain actually wants to do it.
Oh, wow. That is the core shift right there, making the action feel pleasurable, or at least safe, rather than like a punishment.
Exactly.
So how do we actually bypass that natural biological resistance? How do we stop relying on that dirty fuel of brute force?
Well, the source offers a series of practical tactics that bypass the threat response entirely.
Let's look at how we engineer momentum, starting with what the source calls the breadcrumb method.
Yeah, so when most people try to build a new habit, they treat it like they're standing at the bottom of a sheer vertical cliff.
Just looking straight up.
Right. They demand massive, painful leaps from themselves on day one. Like, I haven't worked out in a year, so tomorrow I'm doing a 90-minute high-intensity boot camp.
And the brain just panics.
Totally. The brain looks at that cliff, predicts the massive energy expenditure and pain, and shuts the motivation down immediately. The brain hates cliffs. It prefers low-effort trails.
It's almost like trying to push a broken down car. You don't, jump behind the car, put it in fourth gear, and try to sprint with it.
No, you blow out your knees.
Exactly. You put it in neutral, and you just lean into it. You rock it an inch at a time. The effort is tiny, almost imperceptible, until the tires finally start rolling on their own.
That is a perfect visualization of the breadcrumb method. You are leaving irresistible, tiny cues that gently pull you toward the next step.
Sneaking past the alarms, basically.
Yeah, essentially sneaking past your brain's threat detection system by making the initial action look completely harmless.
The source gives some fantastic, highly practical examples of this, too.
Like the gym close.
Yeah, if you want to work out in the morning, you don't wake up and immediately focus on the grueling hour of cardio ahead of you. That's the cliff.
Wow.
Instead, you leave a breadcrumb. You lay your gym clothes and your shoes out right next to your bed the night before. When you wake up, the first decision is already made.
The cognitive load is essentially zero.
Exactly. Or, if you want to eat better, you wash and cut up fruit the night before and put it at eye level in the fridge.
Making it the absolute easiest snack available.
Right. When you're tired and working from home, it intercepts the impulse to just grab a bag of chips.
It is entirely about removing friction and lowering the barrier to entry. The author also mentions writing a book.
Oh, this is a great one.
Yeah. Don't wake up and tell yourself, I have to write a masterpiece today. Open your laptop the night before, leave the document open, and put a sticky note on the screen granting yourself permission to write just one single messy paragraph.
Or even one messy sentence.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be good. You are creating an environment where engaging with the work requires less energy than avoiding it.
Which brings up a brilliant analogy from the source material. Think of the classic movie E.T.
Oh, I love this comparison.
Right. When the kids wanted to get E.T. to move out of hiding and follow them, they didn't yell at him, they didn't shame him, and they certainly didn't try to drag him.
No, they left a trail of Reese's Pieces.
Yes. You have to design your environment like you are E.T., and you are just putting out Reese's Pieces for yourself one tiny step at a time.
Because the fundamental flaw in the old system is waiting for motivation to strike. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are incredibly fickle.
They really are.
They depend on how much you slept, what you ate, your current stress levels.
Yeah.
By laying out breadcrumbs, you aren't waiting for motivation, you are engineering inevitability.
Engineering inevitability. I like that. And that leads naturally into the next tactic from the source, which is shrinking the start.
Making it super easy to begin.
Yeah. You have to make the act of starting infinitely easier than the act of procrastinating. Like, if the idea of the gym feels too heavy, give yourself permission to go for just 10 minutes.
The source shares a great real-world anecdote about this, actually. The speaker was in Sedona, facing a 4-mile hike in the sweltering heat.
Now, I hear that, but realistically, when I'm staring at a sink full of crusty dishes or facing a 4-mile hike in the heat, telling myself, just walk for 2 minutes or just wash one dish, kind of feels like I'm lying to myself.
You mean your brain sees right through it?
Yeah. My brain knows the other 40 dishes are sitting right there. It knows the trail is 4 miles long. How do we get past the self-deception part?
It feels like a trick, but it is actually a recognized psychological workaround. When you tell yourself, I'm only going to wash one dish, you are temporarily de-escalating your amygdala.
Okay.
You're telling your nervous system, this isn't a threat, it's just one dish. But once you start, A psychological phenomenon called the Zeigarnik effect kicks in.
The Zeigarnik effect.
Yeah, the human brain intrinsically desires to finish an incomplete task once it has been initiated.
Mm.
In the Sedona hike example, the speaker told themselves to just walk for a few minutes and turn around if they wanted.
They shrank the start.
Precisely. But once they were out there, their heart rate elevated, blood flow increased, the environment was beautiful, and the brain naturally shifted from resistance to engagement. They finished the 4 miles effortlessly.
So once the initial momentum starts, the momentum itself takes over the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
The Reese's Pieces get us off the couch, and shrinking the start gets us out the door. But I mean, momentum is notoriously fragile.
Very true.
How do we prevent ourselves from waking up on day 4 and just deciding we don't care about the Reese's Pieces anymore? How do we build a system that lasts for months or years?
You have to literally wire your brain to crave the effort. And you do that through highly specific tracking and immediate rewarding.
Okay, tracking.
The source leans on a popular concept here. Progress equals happiness. The human brain desperately craves evidence that its energy expenditure is actually translating into forward motion.
To provide that evidence, we have to make our progress entirely visible. The source offers a few analog ways to do this, right?
Yeah, physical methods.
Like putting a physical calendar on your wall and drawing a massive red X on every day you execute your habit.
That's a classic one.
Once you get a chain going, your brain will do almost anything to avoid the visual dissonance of breaking that chain. Or keeping a clear jar on your desk and physically dropping a bead or a coin into it after every block of deep work.
But we need to elevate this beyond just basic tracking, because the source makes a vital distinction here.
What's the distinction?
The principle is what is tracked will improve, but what is tracked and physically recorded will improve exponentially.
Wait, why does physically recording it make such a massive difference?
It taps into the endowed progress effect and bypasses our faulty working memory.
Okay, give me an example.
Take weight loss or financial savings. If you just step on a scale or look at your bank app every day, you are merely observing data. That information lives in your short-term working memory and fades quickly.
Right, you forget about it by lunch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you observe that number and then physically write it down in a journal with a pen, you engage the reticular activating system in your brain.
So you're locking it in.
You are forcing your neurological hardware to acknowledge and integrate the data point. It locks the reality of your progress into your long-term awareness, which makes the motivation sustainable.
Another brilliant method the source mentions is simply writing down one single sentence a day about what you did well.
I love that one.
Not a sprawling to-do list of everything you failed to finish, but concrete, recorded evidence of success. Because it is so dangerously easy to hyper-focus on the failure.
Oh, we're wired to look at the negatives.
Totally. Let's say you're trying to eat healthy. The source gives this scenario. You eat perfectly to your plan for 17 days straight. You are absolutely crushing it.
Doing great.
But then on day 18, life happens. You fall off the wagon and eat something you didn't plan to. What is our default reaction? We shame ourselves.
We beat ourselves up.
We conclude we lack discipline, and we throw the entire process in the trash because we quote-unquote ruined it.
Which, as we established with the amygdala, just builds up unconscious resistance and makes starting over 10 times harder.
Exactly. The reframe here is to celebrate the 17 days of consistency as undeniable proof of your capability.
Yes.
You treat day 18 not as a moral failure or a character flaw, but purely as data. You look at it objectively and say, okay, why did that happen? Was I overly stressed? Did I not sleep? Let's adjust the system, learn from the data, and keep moving.
What's fascinating here is the neurochemistry happening beneath the surface, which brings us to the necessity of intentionally rewarding yourself.
The treats.
The treats. You have to treat your brain almost the way you would train a dog with a treat. When a dog performs the desired action, you provide an immediate reward. The animal's brain associates the action with pleasure.
Makes sense.
When you complete a task, even a micro task like washing that one dish,
Yeah.
you must intentionally signal a reward to your nervous system.
The examples the source gives are so incredibly simple, they almost sound too easy.
Like stepping outside.
Yeah, step outside and take one slow, deep breath of fresh air. Feel the sun on your face for 30 seconds. Make yourself your absolute favorite non-alcoholic drink.
Little things.
Or text a supportive friend, someone who is your biggest fan, and say, hey, I just finished that terrifying proposal. Let their positive response serve as your reward. You can even just look in the mirror, smile, and tell yourself you were doing a genuinely good job.
It might sound slightly cheesy to some, but it is biologically necessary if you want to build a lasting habit. These small, intentional, immediate rewards trigger the release of dopamine.
The pleasure chemical.
Well, we often misunderstand dopamine as just the pleasure chemical, but it's actually the chemical of desire, seeking, and motivation.
Oh,
By pairing your effort with an immediate feeling of satisfaction, you are utilizing neuroplasticity. The neurons firing together are wiring together. The dopamine actually thickens the myelin sheath around that new behavioral pathway, making the signal travel faster and easier the next time.
So you're literally changing your brain.
You are constructing a biological work, reward, repeat loop.
The source points out that this loop is literally the exact mechanism of addiction. We generally think of addiction as this terrible destructive force, being addicted to scrolling social media or junk food.
Right, the bad stuff.
But the mechanism of addiction is morally neutral. It just comes from feeling a spike of good neurochemistry after taking an action. You can leverage that exact same biological machinery to become addicted to behaviors that serve you.
Workout, reward, repeat. Read 10 pages, reward, repeat.
Yeah.
If you are chronically struggling to do something, it is almost certainly because you are pairing the action with a sense of dissatisfaction. You are dreading it.
Anticipating the pain.
You are visualizing how exhausted you will be, or worrying about what happens if you fail. You have to consciously intervene, flip that script, and artificially pair the effort with satisfaction until it becomes automatic.
Okay, let's take a breath and look at where we are. We have bypassed the initial threat response using breadcrumbs and shrinking the start. We have built this incredibly efficient mechanical system of momentum and dopamine to keep us moving forward.
We've got the machine running.
But a machine, no matter how well engineered, needs a deeper fuel source. To run a system like this for a lifetime, you need a profound emotional core.
Tactics are great, but they aren't enough on their own.
Right. This brings us to a major shift in the source material, adding joy to the process.
We have to stop white-knuckling our way through life.
Yeah.
There is this pervasive toxic myth in hustle culture that success absolutely requires misery.
That you have to suffer.
Yeah, that if you aren't suffering, bleeding, and exhausted, you simply aren't working hard enough. The source aggressively dismantles this. You are allowed, and from a biological standpoint, you are required to actively enjoy the process if you want it to endure.
Light an expensive candle when you sit down to write your thesis. Play a playlist of your absolute favorite music while you finally clear out your overflowing inbox. Buy the good coffee beans for the mornings you wake up early to read.
Yes, layer in the joy.
You have to intentionally pair the difficult thing with something sensory, soothing, and enjoyable.
This raises an important question for you listening right now. Are you currently pairing your biggest, most important goals with a sense of heavy dread? Or are you actively engineering your environment so that working toward your goals feels like a ritual of self-care?
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this leads to what I think is the most profound philosophical shift in the entire source material.
The self-love aspect.
Yes. The speaker argues that discipline, at its foundational core, is actually just a form of self-love.
Which completely flips the definition.
Think about it. You never need discipline to sit on the couch and eat a massive pint of ice cream, right? Because while it feels good in the moment, in excess, it isn't actually caring for you. Your brain naturally gravitates toward the easy, instant sugar hit.
It takes no effort.
None. You only ever need discipline for the things that are actively protecting and caring for your future self. Eating nutritious food, exercising your heart, saving money for security, or learning a skill that will give you freedom.
If discipline is fundamentally defined as doing things that are good for you, why on earth do we treat it like a prison sentence?
Exactly. Which brings us to the final emotional anchor of the framework. You have to attach deep emotion to your why.
The reason behind it all.
If you want to stick with something when things inevitably go wrong, the goal cannot just live in your prefrontal cortex as a logical, bullet-pointed idea. It has to live in your limbic system. It has to live in your heart.
The speaker references a piece of advice from their mentor that is incredibly powerful. If your why is strong enough, your how will reveal itself.
That gave me chills.
It's so true, though. Logic is energy-intensive for the brain. Emotion is fast and powerful. If you know deeply, on a visceral level, why you are doing something, you will figure out the logistics. You will find a workaround when an obstacle appears.
So you have to ask yourself the genuinely big, slightly intimidating questions. Who do I become if I show up for this every single day?
How does it change my life?
Yeah, how is this specifically going to change my daily life, or my spouse's life, or my children's futures? What will I be able to provide for my parents if I succeed at this? You take that deeply emotional why, you write it down physically, and you read it every single morning before you start.
Because when you are emotionally anchored to the outcome, and you have built a behavioral system that makes the daily steps inherently pleasurable, consistency stops being a chore.
It just becomes who you are.
It becomes your natural baseline state. You aren't forcing yourself to be some robotic, emotionless high performer. You are simply a person who has aligned their daily actions with what actually feels deeply good and meaningful.
So, what does this all mean? Let's bring everything we've uncovered today together. If you want to achieve your biggest, most intimidating goals, you have to completely stop chasing motivation.
Throw it out.
Stop enduring unnecessary pain just for the sake of the grind. Instead, you step into the role of an engineer, you leave irresistible breadcrumbs for yourself to lower the cognitive load.
You shrink the start.
You shrink the start so it is neurologically easier to begin than to avoid. You track your progress visibly and record it physically to hack your working memory. You reward yourself instantly to thicken those neural pathways and utilize the dopamine loop.
Work, reward, repeat.
Exactly. You actively inject sensory joy into your environment, and you root every single action in a deeply emotional why.
It is the ultimate transition from a life of painful, exhausting endurance to a life of engineered pleasure and purpose. And the source notes a beautiful realization that naturally emerges from living this way. Eventually, the work completely stops feeling like work. It stops feeling like a sacrifice. It starts feeling, as the speaker beautifully puts it, like coming home to yourself every single time you engage with it.
Coming home to yourself. I absolutely love that perspective. And that brings us right back to where we started our conversation today.
Full circle.
Think about that project, that fitness goal, that creative task you have been putting off until tomorrow because the invisible wall of dread just feels entirely too high to climb. If true discipline is actually nothing more than a highly customized system of self-love and joy,
What a question.
what is one area of your life that you have been treating as a grueling punishment that is actually just waiting to be transformed into your favorite daily reward?